Welcome to season 6 of the Breakthrough Show, Breakthroughs Around the World, conversations with 40 guests from 40 different countries, acknowledging our similarities, honoring our differences, and celebrating our connection. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, and super excited to be with you for another episode today. So for season 6, episode 21, I am thrilled to introduce a new friend who's helping people around the globe to transform their lives. She's not only an NLP practitioner, but she's a shamanic healer and she's multilingual. I told her before we came on today, I said, listen, on a good day, I speak English and I barely speak English. So I'm really excited to have her here today, here to represent the country of Spain. Please welcome Nur Garriga to the show. Welcome, Nur.
My God, thanks so very much for introducing me like that. I hope I can do a little bit of good today. Thank you, Jessica.
I'm sure you can. I'm so excited to have you here. And you were introduced by, we've shouted out her name several times on the show this season, Dorothy O'Shea, who we just love. And I'm thrilled because I said, listen, anybody that's a friend of Dorothy's is a friend of mine. And I'm glad that we can be friends and have this conversation now.
Thank you very much. Dorothy is a person I really, really admire profoundly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm excited to dig into Spain a little bit today because, here in the United States, we have a choice when we go to school to learn 2 languages. You can learn Spanish or French. Which one do you want to learn? And could go either way. I remember taking both for a little bit of time. But when we talk about Spanish here, we end up talking a lot about Mexico because Mexico is what's attached to us, So I feel like we don't learn a whole lot about Spain. So I'm excited to dive in. But what do you love most about your country?
Wow, I'll do my best to answer that. There is a lot I need to learn as well. Our country is multicultural, multilingual, has an amazing cuisine, all kinds of things, and very healthy, all of them, honestly. So you can go to the northwest, to the northeast, to the south, the center. And you will really enjoy eating whatever. So if you enjoy eating and laughing and meeting people, socializing, you're going to have a lot of fun. And of course, history behind every stone you encounter. Yeah. Absolutely breathtaking sometimes.
Yeah. Have you been to Mexico? Like, have you ever been there yourself?
Not yet. Not that I have not been invited though.
Yeah. Well, I have friends there now, and now we can.
Okay. Yes, Susanna, for example, we both know. Yes. Yeah. I've been invited. I'll go someday. I'll go.
Yeah. So do you know, what are you mentioned the food. So I'm curious, what are the vast differences? I'm assuming because Spain is where it is, that it's more European influenced as far as that the cuisine is probably very different. Do you know what the differences are, or tell me a little bit about the food in Spain?
Okay. Well, I made a list for you because there are so many different things. But, the most famous one, you probably have heard of it, is tortilla. Tortilla is an omelette, right? But then this is funny because here in Catalonia, we make omelette with potatoes and onion, whereas most other parts of Spain, they only use potatoes, which I think it's a pity. Totally. And then there is, of course, this vegetable soup called gazpacho that is worldwide known, amazing. It's from Andalusia. Now that it's hot, it's wonderful, right? And then there is a similar one that is a little bit thicker, which is salmorejo, which is typical also in the south, in Cordoba, if my memory serves me right. And then, of course, there is jamón. And let me say this, because when we speak English, we need to tell students, okay, you can say ham, right? But then if you look at menus, you see the word prosciutto. Prosciutto is in Italian.
Right.
And come on, prosciutto and jamón really don't have much to do with each other because jamón is stronger and has a lot of taste, I would say much more than prosciutto. I've tasted both. I've traveled to Italy and
Yeah.
I speak Italian, by the way. So yeah. And then what else? Octopus, Galician octopus in the northwest of Spain. Delicious. And they cook it in a way, I couldn't tell you all the details, but they just chop it in rings, and then they cook it on sliced potatoes, and then they add some chili pepper. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And what else? Yeah, I thought I have to say something about this. In the north of Spain, in Asturias, places like that, there is the typical fabada, which is beans with different types of pork, right? Also delicious, especially in winter. And then in the Basque Country, there are the montaditos. Montaditos is a slice of bread or a loaf of bread, right? And then they just put whatever on, like it can be a ham, or it can be anchovy, or it can be olives, or it can be mayonnaise with whatever. And then in Catalonia, we have pam tumaca, which is a slice of bread, or again, a loaf of bread, spread with tomato, wrapped with tomato, olive oil, of course, a pinch of salt if you like, and then you can eat it with whatever. It can be the typical fuet or longaniza seca, which is like a chorizo, but much healthier and tastier, in my opinion. And then or ham, right? So yeah, we have amazing things for summer, for winter, and in between. And many other things.
It sounds like there's a lot of vegetables, which is good. So I eat a plant-based diet. So I'm here for the potatoes and the beans and the tomatoes and all of those things.
And green vegetables.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it, because I was curious about, you just don't know sometimes with vegetation in different parts of the world, weather-wise, if it's enough to sustain, having a lot of crops and things like that. Like we've talked to some people in very, desert type areas. When we were talking to some of our friends down in Africa, it was difficult for them to get vegetation certain times of the year because it's such an arid, country.
Yeah. Well, we are very lucky here. We have lots of green vegetables. And yes, of course, they say organic vegetables, we know it's quite complicated, because if the wind goes one way, or if the underground waters go the other way, it's quite difficult. Come on, let's be smart. But still, if we try to avoid pesticides, it's even better, right? No, we do in our diet throughout Spain. I would rather say we eat a lot of vegetables, of course. Yes. Well, and then we have paella. I forgot paella. Oh my God, in Valencia, they're gonna kill me. Yes. Yes. Paella, it can be, made with seafood alone, or you can mix it with meat, pork, or chicken, whatever, right?
Yeah. I love paella. And I had before we became plant-based, I used to get a seafood one where I would go, and it was delicious. And then I've tried making a vegetable one, which was still really good, amazing food. Tell me about the, traditions and holidays, Nur.
Okay, that's a nice question. Well, theoretically and in practice, Spain is still a Catholic country. So that means that we celebrate Easter and Christmas, which means that most people have holiday those periods of time. And then also because of the heat and so on, even though this is changing, but normally in August, we also have holiday. But when it comes to celebrations, so Easter and Christmas are highly significant. Yeah, I would say those are perhaps the most important. And then there is another one that is worldwide known, that is San Fermin, which is July the 7th, and is packed with people. And it is really, really famous as well, among others. But there are many traditions. For example, tonight here where I live, there are a bonfire night. It's a bonfire night, so there'll be bonfires here and there.
I love it.
And it's a celebration. Tomorrow is a public holiday.
Oh, okay. I love the idea of bonfires. We try to do that here. It's so hot where I live, north. I can't wait to get
Yes.
back up north because then it won't be so hot. Um, but it's been 100 degrees almost every day this week. I can't.
Wow,
I
that's a
can't
lot
do it.
because sorry, let me calculate because I know that 70 degrees Fahrenheit are about 20 degrees Celsius.
Mm,
So that's a lot.
yeah,
That's a lot.
it's hot.
Here too, though. It's been really unbearable.
I
I'm
literally
sorry.
walked outside earlier and came in and said, no human should be outside today. It's horrible.
Oh my
It's
God.
horrible. But we're moving back up north, which will cool the temperatures a little bit. But the weather, it's changing so much now compared to when I was younger. It's so strange to watch.
Yes,
So is it doing that in Spain too? Like just
yes.
very
It,
different
it's
weather?
getting radical and
Yeah.
droughts. We are not in the middle of a drought yet, but we are walking towards it.
Mm.
Pretty serious, pretty serious. For example, this winter, January, February was not cold at all in the North Hemisphere, right?
Yeah.
And but then in March, luckily, it started raining, so not many floods this time. But this is happening. It's like every time it rains, this danger shows up more and more. So it seems that yeah, there is a kind of change
Yeah. Yeah.
despite what other people say or some people say, but it looks like it. And
Right.
wildfires are, we have to be really careful, really
Yeah.
careful.
Yeah. I one of the things that keeps coming up in these conversations about different countries is diversity. What do you see as far as diversity, whether it's with people or religious diversity, or like what, tell me about what that looks like there.
Okay, well, in the place that I live, Catalonia is highly multicultural,
Mm.
and there are many religions here. For example, I've been a teacher in a high school uh, whose 50% of my class
Mm.
was from Morocco. So I had to pronounce interesting names. It was like, okay, whatever. So I kept trying. That was nice because I made an effort and they really appreciated. So that was just a sample. But then
Mm.
we have people from Senegal, we have people from Gambia, Zambia, some a fewer perhaps from South Africa, but mostly Morocco.
Mm.
And I remember in 2007 speaking to some relatives in Asturias in the north of Spain, northwest, and they said, oh, we are not so used to seeing black people here. And
Mm.
I said, well, that's interesting because where we are in Catalonia, we see them not every day but nearly. There are towns that are, that you can see all kinds of people.
Right.
And if you go to Barcelona, for example, and if you go to the most important streets, you're going to listen all kinds of languages. It's so beautiful.
Mm.
And not all of them are tourists, so many
Right.
of them live there. And then we are famous for being welcoming, a welcoming society. So uh, we open our arms to invite and welcome refugees of
Mm.
all over the world, despite governments, they say until here or whatever they decide is best. But we are a welcoming people, and
Mm.
and apart from that, there is diversity, linguistic diversity as well. So Spain alone, we have 4 official languages, um, politics aside.
Yeah.
You mentioned about that you said that in the US you can choose between learning Spanish or French
Mhm.
at school. Well, here in Catalonia, we grew up speaking both, learning
Mm.
both, at least. And
Yeah.
then at the age of 3, for sure, we already learn English at school, better or worse. And
Wow.
then, but we do. And then in some schools, they even start with German or French at the age of 9 or 10, or at the age of 12 in secondary education. So that's pretty cool. And
Mm.
all this contributes to a lot of diversity in many senses.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, that's part of one of the reasons that so I homeschool my kids and they can choose whatever languages, that they want to do. They're not limited to whatever's being offered elsewhere. And so that's nice that they can at least choose the different things, because I love that about other countries, that they have more options from a
Yes.
from a younger age. Um How has Spain changed, if at all, from the time that you were younger to now?
In anything in particular?
Yeah,
Something
anything
specific?
that you might think of like this is different, or maybe things that haven't changed all that much. What is your perspective?
Hmm. Um, yeah, perhaps when I was, one of the things that I see different now is that mm, speaking different languages or speaking English or French or foreign languages nowadays is much more common than in the past. For
Mm,
instance, my dad used to be a real polyglot. He could speak and write 10 different languages, and that was extraordinary. So that was weird.
mm,
Attention, that was weird. And people
right.
would just look at you like, hmm. And that was suspicious. And my dad spoke Russian. So, oh my God,
Yeah.
that was really serious. So the police was sent to his home once just
Wow.
because he could speak Russian. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think that these things have changed. However, in the last few years, 5, 6 years, um, some people say that this is coming back. So we have to be
Mm,
careful with the things we say.
right.
So, in terms of freedom of speech, perhaps this been not officially said, but I think, or I feel that now we are less freer than when I was younger.
Mm.
That's the
Interesting.
feeling that I've got.
Yeah, very interesting to hear that. But it's also, I mean, part of I think the examination of having these conversations about different countries is we're seeing like so many traditions changing, but then some things staying the same. And there's some people who, grasp onto that tradition and nostalgia and like things can't change. And then other people are like, we need to move forward. And so you kind of see this going back and forth, I think, between generations and cultures. And, people, I don't think people are really that clear other than I think people just want to be happy.
I
Like it.
totally agree. Everywhere around the world, that's a common thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Breakthroughs are about more than you might think. They're about discovering who you are, digging deep, reaching to the core of your soul. They're about healing. Healing yourself, understanding your beliefs, creating a ripple effect. And it's not just those initial moments that matter. It's about using them to bring more joy into our own lives and the lives of others. It's about having fun, letting loose, enjoying every moment life has to offer. It's about finding a safe space. It's about creating connection. Join us each and every day for exclusive programming, special events, and a community to call home, where we invite you to explore, change the way you look at and live your life, and go beyond the breakthrough. So we ask you, are you ready? We'll see you online at thebreakthroughshow.com. Well, I'm excited to dig into a little bit of your journey, your history, your story, and I know that you are an NLP practitioner, but you're also a shamanic practitioner, amongst other things. Have you always been open to sort of that outside of the box? Because it's not something some people are. Listen, most of our audience is really good. They're going to watch this and be like, "Oh, this is absolutely my cup of tea," and then there's going to be those few people who are like, what woo-woo pond is she swimming in over there?
Of
Have you
course.
always been open to that kind of thinking, or was it something you had to work on with yourself?
Thank you. I love that question.
Mm.
Yeah, well, okay, I'm very skeptical. So, on the one hand, I am very skeptical and I like to be realistic and grounded. But on the other hand, I admit I am spiritual. I choose to be spiritual actually,
Mm.
not religious. but spiritual. And since I was very little, I used to have these long conversations with the star, or the universe, and sometimes I call it God. I remember because I was brought up in a Catholic family, but I decided not to be Catholic after all when I was 13. That's a long story.
Yeah.
So that's it. And then that was beautiful. And then I decided to study NLP, first the practitioner, then the master trainer, and so on and so forth, because I wanted to be a better communicator and teacher. And I wanted to be to understand people better. I wanted to understand my students better, of all ages. So NLP allowed me to grow in that sense and be more effective. So of course, it's funny. I should say that sometimes it's like, okay, so this that I do, they call it like that. Okay, cool, right? So because we do a lot of things by instinct, and we know how to manage situations. We just don't have a name for it. So that's something that I learned with NLP. Or then if you look at positive psychology, it's very similar, really. And then I thought, okay, so it's like putting everything together, and that serves me well, and I can help others faster, know?
Yeah.
And then, that was very, very interesting. And I went to California and I met Robert Dills and his team. That was the best part. Being in Santa Cruz, oh my God, what a campus! Yes, I miss it every day. I mean, with deer around and raccoons, and so beautiful, and the ocean, right? And I miss that. And then on the other hand, I was something happened in 2015. I was doing the trainers. Yeah, I did the practitioner in 2013, and then in 2010 I started in Barcelona studying NLP, but then I went to California in 2013, and then in 2015 I went back to do the trainers, NLP trainers, and the master training the following year. In 2015, for the first time, we had this man, Michael Dills, who came and started drumming. And he said, well, you're going to see animals. Or maybe you see, you close your eyes, take it easy. And I thought, oh, this is annoying, right? But anyway, the first time especially was like, oof. But then, I just let myself go, and I thought, this is fun. And then the first time I thought I was supposed to see an animal. So I was like, come on. And then it didn't work out, honestly. The first time I was like, okay, whatever. But we did it again. And then when we did it again, it was on a golden eagle. And I was flying, on this golden eagle. And she was showing me around. Oh, my God. That was amazing. And eagles mean great vision, right? And distance, so that you can make the right decisions, and so on and so forth. And that was amazing. But that was not the first time. The second time, there was this Native American and the Tree of Life telling me, come in, go down. And then I went down. I went towards the roots, and then they nourished me. That was pretty amazing. I'm happy to share this because it was a beautiful journey indeed. Then I thought, why? So these visions or these journeys are real. So of course they can be my imagination. But then I did some digging, and I realized that I could, when I journey with the drumming, I get information. And I decided in 2017, I said, okay, I had been invited to go to Bali to become a shamanic healer. And I said, no, I don't want to go to Bali. Too humid. I prefer to go to Canada. Yeah, that's what I thought. I don't like humidity that much. So then I decided to go to Canada, and I searched in the middle of the night, 3:00 or something. And I found 2 interesting actions. And then I met Daniel Leonard, who became my teacher afterwards. And I'm so happy I met him. And then off I went to Canada every 5 or 6 weeks for 13 months. And I discovered a lot of things that I had, channels I could open and I could use, things that I had been doing in the past since I was little, but I was not really aware of it. Why my hands could heal, or why they would have this energy sometimes, and learning how to manage that is absolutely priceless. So
That's amazing.
of course I want to use all the talents, if there are any, to help others. And this goes both ways. When you help others, you are also helping yourself. So
Right.
wow, what can I say?
It's amazing that, I mean, you started out as someone who was skeptical about a lot of things, and then here you are, just a completely, could you have imagined that your life would go the direction it's gone?
Not that I would say it out loud,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
Because like, what's that exactly? And then the translation into Spanish, I would not rather say, because it's but in Mexico they use it very often, right?
Yeah.
No, I prefer to say shamanic. What shamanic healer,
Mm,
and still learning, because we always learn
yeah.
continuously.
Right. Well, I mean, I love that you're using it. And there's a quote by Irma Bombeck that says, "When I stand before God at the end of my life, I would hope that I would not have a single bit of talent left, and I could say I used everything you gave me."
Wow.
And that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing.
I hope so.
Mhm.
I don't actually think so. I'm very demanding with myself, and I wanted to be an actress when I was 5. Yes, yes, because then I could live many other lives. That's the point.
Yes.
Um, yeah, I'm still working on it. I'm still learning, and I hope I have many years ahead to do a lot of important things for the others, for myself, for the world, for the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm very
So
concerned about the planet.
right. I agree. You mentioned that there was part of your experience was dealing with illness with yourself, and I would love to hear a little bit of that story, because that's something that I feel, as much as I'm trying for that not to be my story, it has been part of my story, and I would love to hear how that experience has been for you.
Okay, I'll try to be short.
It's okay. Go ahead. I'll just get a
Okay,
cup of
okay. I'll do
coffee
my
and
best. Okay, yes. There you go. That's interesting. I learned just recently, a few years ago, that asthma
Mm,
is the result of obstruction,
mm,
psychological obstruction. Do I say that correctly?
yep.
Does it make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
Which means that maybe you live in an environment that is oppressive. It can be psychological, physically weird.
Mm,
Maybe it's not healthy enough in many senses. Of course, it can be just an allergy that you need to open the windows more and don't use rugs or
right.
wall-to-wall carpets, and that's it. But it's important to take everything into consideration and analyze the circumstances. So it seems that when I turned 3 or around that age, I got asthma,
Mm,
and it turned out to be very severe. Then my personal life at that time was really complicated for a youngster like me, and a little toddler kind of, no.
yeah.
But I remember it. I do remember a lot of things, and then I remember that I started to look at the adults, like they don't want me if I don't breathe properly. So at the age of 3, I had asthma, severe asthma. And then I remember that I realized that the adults, were not very happy when I was ill. So I
Mm,
was supposed to make them happy, I thought, because otherwise they don't want me. So then I learned to hide my breathing. So when I was not breathing properly, I would just stop breathing and then
mm,
walk to the other room and do my best. Then at the age of 5, it got worse, but yeah, more or less under control. And then when it got really bad, I would go to the emergency room, this and that. And then there used to be an episode when things around me with adults got complicated. And then at the age of 9, I went to live with a woman who was supposed to take care of me. And then psychologically, I struggled so very, very much that at the age of 10, I went into a coma a couple of times. But the second one was for 4 days or so.
Wow.
And that was, it seems really sad. And of course,
Mm-hmm.
it is sad, it's tragic. But at the same time, I'm so happy I went through that experience, because I just remember when I woke up, that doctor looked at me and said, Nuria. They would say not Nur, right? Because I was little and they called me Nuria then. So, we could see that, well, you were struggling between life and death, and we can assure you that you have chosen life. And I said, really? Yeah, of course, that's why I'm here. Yes, absolutely. And we know a lot about your life now. And you decided not to listen to the adults anymore so that you can really go on. And I said, okay, I'm glad to hear that, because they are really a pain in the. And then, and then, so yeah, but basically, that was it. I chose to live. And that's what I intended to do. So after that, I was lucky enough to go to a boarding school, and that was it. And there I had stability, and I had proper adults that would just look after me when I needed to, because I was 10 years old. And then I had a lot of sisters, right? So that was awesome. And and in 4 years that I was there, I healed. Not completely, but practically completely. But yeah, I still remember that I had to, one of my lessons, life lessons, was that if I wanted to get along with people, I was supposed not to be a nuisance. And that's really sad, because but this, after all, is what at the end of the day is what many people say. No, if you want to get closer to people who are positive and happy, well, sometimes it's tough and you cannot be that positive, or you are simply struggling. It doesn't mean you are not. But apart from that, it is true that people don't want to be near others, or may not want to be near others who are ill or need help. So since then, well, before that, but that's another part of the story, I decided to really contribute to people, help them see that they have power in their will, in their mind. And then, of course, that then they are going to heal their body, and they're going to be happier, because when we are healthier, we are happier. And when we are happier, we are healthier. It goes like that. It's like the two brains we've got, the one in the stomach and the one in the brain, in the head, right? And they are interconnected. And what we eat affects how we feel, and how we think, and vice versa.
Right. I love how you talked about with the asthma, how, there is that emotional connection there, but there's also, like, you might need to open a window or not have the carpeting, and there is that balance between ways of thought of what causes different things. And I feel like in my own journey, and I know I'm speaking for some of the others who are watching this right now, that it has been a challenge to balance those different things, but to also find practitioners who are willing to balance those things as well. Like, you might go to a traditional doctor who's like, I don't believe in any of that emotional connection stuff. And then you might go to somebody who's more spiritual, and they're like, well, I don't believe any of the other medical. So it's hard to find that balance in practitioners, and also in ourselves. Like, what do you suggest to people as far as trying to find some kind of balance with it?
All right. I always tell them to go to a traditional doctor and find out what that Western medicine doctor is going to tell them. Of course, they need to use their common sense. And I always say, they can give you a pill, a painkiller, they can give you this, they can give you that. But if you continue to eat badly, if you continue to sleep fewer hours, if you continue to do this and that, well, you are just healing the symptom, and maybe for some time. But come on, let's face it, do something about the root issue here. And then change some habits, unless you don't want to get well after all. But be honest. I always say this, if you really want to get well, come on, let's play. Let's do this. It's not going to be easy.
Right.
But yeah, my suggestion is always, okay, so make sure you breathe well, and make sure you're positive. The way you think about yourself is proper. And make sure that when you get up in the morning, you put your feet on the ground and say, okay, how am I going to treat myself today? What am I going to do for myself today? And it's not easy. There are days that it's hard, but you get used to doing that. Practice makes master, or even perfect, which I don't believe exists. But anyway, so it's this habit of, okay, it's sometimes when I teach how to make presentations in a company or to my students of all ages, even the little ones, I would say, okay, you prepared your speech, right? Okay, so besides your speech, you need to prepare your mind and your body before you get started. And then, okay, so let's take deep breathing, breathe deeply and completely for several times before you start speaking or before you go into action. And then put both feet or place both feet on the ground and do that. And then look around you, be present, and then you will feel more confident, you'll feel better. And then, well, so sometimes it's not just a pill. Of course not. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. And in fact, when I was 14 or so, I thought, oh my God, if I'm going to depend on an inhaler for the rest of my life, and I want to travel around the world because I want to, what am I going to do when I don't have it?
Right.
So I wanted to learn not to be dependent on something. Then this plays an important role.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm still working on that to make things better. But yeah, my suggestion is, please, contrast, use common sense. Medicinal plants are something I'm really fond of. Learn about these. And sometimes I advise them to drink this or that. And then be careful, because that lowers blood pressure, and then that they should ask their doctor. But I always say, well, Western doctor may not know what this does, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And the one thing that you said, that question to ask yourself, do you actually want to get well? It's such a powerful thing and such a kick in the rear end, because I'll be very honest. When I started digging into that for myself, some of the things that were coming up for me were that when I was little and I was sick, that's when I got attention. And that's when I felt like people were paying attention to me. So why would I subconsciously want to get well when I know that that's when people will hear me? And so it's hard. It's hard when you're starting that, because you can so easily get into a place of feeling guilty, and feeling like I would never make myself sick. Well, no, not consciously, but in the back of our heads, the little Jessica's going, but everybody's paying attention to me when I'm sick.
Yes. Oh my God, Jessica, you said something very important. You brought up the word subconscious. That's around 95% of our brain. So we are consciously using a 5% if we're lucky. That's ridiculous. Right. So that's why it's so important to really relearn and change.
Right.
Like, of course we can do that. Absolutely. And at the beginning, it's going to be hard, but later it's going to be easier. And in the end, it's going to be mechanical, because actually these things are like riding a bike.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Practicing it often. And it's something else that we've talked about so often with so many of our guests on the show, is sometimes that pushback that we get from people of going, oh, I did that one time, or I said an affirmation, or I meditated for 5 minutes, and like my whole world hasn't changed, so it doesn't work. It has to be a practice, right?
Yes. Thank you again for saying that. Yeah. The word meditation. Yes. Yeah, because I may forget a lot of things. Yes, meditation, and people go like, no, not necessarily. There is a song that I like very much that is called Thunder. You just mm, I just connect. I don't know now. I press the button and I start dancing Monday morning.
Mm.
Really, I love dancing. And then I'm fine. Perfect.
Yeah.
Endorphins, oxytocin, whatever, no cortisol anymore. Perfect. And then that's natural. It takes me 3 minutes and off I go.
Yeah.
That's a kind of meditation, like a
Mhm.
sport, like walking in the woods barefoot. And then, of course, breathing in and out.
Right, right. We had a meditation teacher. She does expressive meditation on my morning show one day, Pragito Dove, and she was incredible. And she talked about that. She said, some people they do laughing, they laugh for a few minutes, and then that's their meditation. But we get in our head that it's that. I want to tell you how hard that is with 6 children. Okay, I just want to tell you.
Excuse me?
It's so
Okay.
hard. It's so hard. It's not. It's
You
not
said
a
6?
thing. I did say 6. I'm glad you were sitting down for that.
Wow. My
But no,
respect.
but that's not. When someone told me that when I was starting to learn about meditation, I thought to myself, "Are you kidding me? I haven't had 5 minutes of quiet in 15 years. What are you talking about?" But it doesn't have to look like that, right?
No, no. And then every person is different. We
Yeah.
need to accept that. And what it works for me, it doesn't have to work for you.
Mhm.
And then it's like finding balance.
Yeah.
And yes, of course. And sometimes we have 1 hour, and sometimes we have 10 minutes, and sometimes we have 1 minute. So it's important just to know what is that we can do depending on the time we've got. And that will be enough. That will do, for sure. And one of the meditation circles that I designed for youngsters, teenagers,
Mm.
includes dancing and yoga. And then I use Tibetan bowls and the drumming sometimes.
Mm.
But with the yoga, it's so much fun. And when I start dancing with them, they go like, "What?" But we thought it was, yes, this is mindfulness. And of course, you're going to be 100% here.
Right.
And then, yeah. So I designed it just because I thought this is going to break their way, the way they think, and it's going to work out, and it does.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, truly, if mindfulness is kind of the art, so to speak, of being present,
Mhm.
then you can be present to doing anything.
Absolutely.
Anything. Yeah.
And we need to search for what works for us.
Right. Right. What do you, I know this is going to be a really big question, but
Okay.
if someone says to you, what do you want the world to know about healing? If you could say one thing about healing themselves, and because we know in order to heal the world, we have to start in here, but what would you say? What would be like the one thing you'd want to say?
Okay. Adding to what you said, that starts here, starts inside, starts in the mind and in the body. I would recommend going to the woods and walk barefoot, at least for 30 minutes. At least once a week. I don't remember if it was Pretty Woman. Pretty Woman. In the 80s, that Richard Gere, did I pronounce that correctly?
Yeah.
Okay. He was, he was exploring walking barefoot on the lawn.
Yeah.
I think it was Central Park.
Yep.
Can remember. So that we should do that more often.
So good. But just don't do it. Listen, our driveway here was made of like rocks and shells and things like that. And my husband wanted me to go outside earlier. And I told you it was 100 degrees. So it's really hot. And so
yes.
I wasn't even thinking about it because I love being in bare feet. I have no shoes on right now. I'm always in bare feet. And so, but I was like, I'm just going to go outside a minute, and it hurt. So be careful when
Yes, he's right. But careful, because when I mean walking barefoot, I mean stepping on grass or soil.
Yeah. Not shells and rocks in 100-degree weather. Not a good idea.
Well, no, just be careful there. Yes, a friend of mine, Wendy, almost killed herself. No, careful, because it's slippery over there. But on the lawn, supposed to be, and on soil. Yeah, but natural, with earth, sand. Yeah, because that's called earthing. And I think it does work. You know, when we have swollen knees or whatever, or pain in different parts of our body. So walking barefoot can help a great deal.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. So everybody pause the video, take your shoes off and go out in the grass. And then
Yes,
unless
please.
you're watching this, 5 years from now in the middle of the winter, just check the weather first.
Doesn't matter. Well, okay.
I love it. Well,
Aquest poema, que es titula Per l'amor, diu així: vull ser un símbol d'amor, fins i tot amb l'ànima trencada, fins i tot amb el cor adolorit. Vull ser un símbol d'amor, perquè el món està ferit, no només en el meu trosset de terra, on em sento protegida, on em sento força bé, sinó també en el nostre món, arreu, cada dia. Vull ser un símbol d'amor, perquè necessitem més llum, no pas més morts, no pas més poder, no pas més bombes. Vull ser un símbol d'amor per tal que els nostres fills se sentin segurs, per tal que els nostres amics tinguin aixopluc, per tal que les nostres fronteres romanguin obertes. Vull ser un símbol d'amor, fins i tot amb l'ànima trencada, fins i tot amb el cor adolorit.
I love it. Well, we have to get to our 10 fun questions.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I hope so. Off we go.
We're going to have fun. Here we go. Number 1, what is your morning beverage of choice? What do you like to drink first thing in the morning?
I love American coffee.
Very good. Very good. All right. Number 2, when are you most productive?
All day long.
Really?
If I concentrate, I'm unstoppable.
I love it. That makes me need to take a nap. Number 3, which season is your favorite?
Oh, the 4 of them, but mostly autumn.
My favorite too. My favorite
Yeah.
too. Number 4, what is something you're learning right now?
French.
Very good. How many languages do you speak, by the way?
Speak. I can speak 7, but French and Dutch not so well anymore, and that's really sad.
So relearning or
yes,
relearning.
yes, I'm relearning. I'm relearning German, and I'm practicing some French.
Very good. Very good. All right. Number 5, when you were in school, what were your best and worst subjects?
I was best at history, and I was terrible at Spanish.
This is like, oh my gosh, I have to laugh at this so much because this is like the 5th time that we have had somebody from their country say that language was not their.
It was terrible, but no, it was because we had to do lexical things, and then we had to calculate. So the verb goes with this, and then later I became an expert, but I struggled for years.
Oh, funny though. So it's not what you expect people to say. So
okay.
Back. All right. Number 6, what scares you?
Routine.
What did you say?
Routine.
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 Gotcha. Okay. I think that would scare me too, now that I'm thinking about it. Having to do the same thing. Oh, that would be horrifying. Horrible. I love that answer. That's one of the best ones I think we've gotten so far.
Yeah.
Number 7, have you ever been in love?
Many times.
Love it. Love it.
Every day.
Yes. Yes. So good. Number 8, what inspires you?
Looking at the sky and hearing the birds chirping and music and water. Having a bath or a shower or swimming.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I love the water too. Number 9, how do you enjoy your downtime or your spare time? Extra time.
Mm, writing, reading, writing, singing. I love singing. Um, dancing and socializing.
Yeah.
But downtime for me is important to be on my own.
Yeah, such a good point. Such a good point. All right. Finally, which culture do you deeply respect or want to learn more about other than your own?
Arabic culture.
Mm,
I want to understand them better.
I love that. I love that. Well, you made it. You did all 10 questions beautifully. There's no
Thank
prize. You
you.
get a virtual hug.
Okay, thank you. Yes. Okay.
I love it. Well, we want everybody to visit. I know you shared your Instagram with us. What kind of things do you share on your Instagram?
Not many, not
Yeah.
many. But I should post more things. But basically, here they can reach out to me, and then I can help them with whatever they may need, or if they have a question. That's going to be easier, right? But yeah, I'll try to be a little bit more active. But normally we post because I have a person who helps me a couple of times a month. Yeah, not too many times.
I mean, sometimes, to be fair, you don't need to post obnoxiously as some of us do. You can just post some good things. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I'm not. I must be honest with you. For me, media, it's a little bit too much at times. And then I'm so busy and I have so many important things to do that when it comes to social media, sometimes it's like, okay, I don't have time for this. And I would love to see more things and follow more people and say, oh, look, that's nice. But honestly, I don't have that much time. So they can also check with my name. They can find a website and see what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's totally fair. And because it can be very overwhelming. And I know what I've had to really create good boundaries for myself when it comes to social media. Otherwise, either I'd be on there all day, or I would you constantly, you have to train yourself when you see something that triggers you, which is often, to keep going. You just scroll past it.
Yes, exactly.
I love it. I love it. Well, I know I put your website there as well. What can people find there, and how can people work with you?
Wow. Well, they can reach out to me and they can ask for different kinds of services. So they can hire me or count on me for public speaking, for a motivational speech that I normally like to customize it depending on their needs. That's for me essential. Because we are all different and depending on the purpose should be one thing or the other. And then of course it can be just healing work. I can do it distantly or I can do it in person, but distantly is also very powerful. I didn't know it was so incredibly powerful. But of course I prefer to do it personally if it's possible, right? And then there are many other things like just coaching with NLP and a blended mixture of techniques, which can help people to be more assertive and be more honest with themselves and others, because what goes around comes around, I think. And all these kinds of things.
I love it. Well, I hope one day that we'll end up getting to meet each other in person, because I think you just have the most beautiful energy, and I really enjoyed our conversation together today, Nur. I appreciate you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hope to see you soon.
Yes, absolutely. I want to thank everybody for joining us today, wherever you are in the world. And I want to thank Nur for being here. Her links are down in the description of the video, so you can just click and go, and it'll be easy for you. I want to remind you to join us on social media when you can. Go to bit.ly/Discord Breakthrough. I'll put it at the bottom for you, bit.ly/Discord Breakthrough. That's our little community. And I would love for you to come and join us there as well. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, and we'll see you next week for another virtual travel. And we'll love to have you with us. I want to remind you to make joy a priority in your life and make every day a great day for a breakthrough. We'll see you next time.